Hello there, I'm Maggie, your graduation coordinator, and I want to talk to you about our upcoming graduation sessions. I'm really excited by them, and I just want to talk to you about the grading. Do you know the joke about the student who got an 8 for his graduation without having to say one thing during the session? Do you know how that was? The professors were so busy talking to each other and showing off their knowledge that he didn't have to say a word, but they were so impressed by each other that he passed. Of course, it's a bit of a lame joke, but I think you get the picture that this can be a tendency of something to happen during a graduation session. So it's not about us during the graduation session, it's really about the students. And we have our first upcoming students, and we love our students, well, most of them. And we really want to see them do well. We're proud of them, and we want to show off. And sometimes one of our colleagues from another program, he once said, I might not be that knowledgeable about the full graduation project of a student, but I know my students. I've been with them for the full program, and I know if it's a 7 student or a 9 student. This can be a position you take in how you see the grading of graduation. This is not the position I take, and also not the position I hope we all take. The grading of the graduation project is about the project. It's not about the student. So it is, in my opinion, possible that a student with an average grade of 7 gets a 9 for his project, because we can always do better than before. And it's also possible that a student with an average of a 9 gets a 7 for his or her project, because we grade the project based on the merits of the project. And also, if you think a student deserves better than the grade for that project, there's nothing stopping you from writing a really good review on that student's LinkedIn profile, and that might even be have higher value for his future career than the grade in itself. So the grade is not about the average grade or the average value that we give to the student. It's also not about us deciding if our students are the new Vignellis or whatever we think is the prototype of the designer for this period. It's not about that we judge that they are good designers or not. We judge the project for itself, not the persons. So when it's about the project, there's different things that we look at. We have 2 partial grades, one for the process and one for the end result. In terms of the process, yes, it is possible that you have the scenario of operation successful, patient died. It is possible that a student did all the right things process-wise, but that because of bad luck or company circumstances or even out of company circumstances, the end result isn't as good as expected. So in that case, it is not that we just look at the end result. If the student did a really good process, did good things in there, we can value that. That's the one aspect. The process, really look at that, and even in case of a bad end result, value the process. Also, the other way around happens. Sometimes students tend to wow us with what they deliver as an end result, and we forget then, or they hope we forget, or maybe in our enthusiasm we forget to look at the process. It can be, well, a fluke is not the right word, but a one-off, or that they just happen to be a good designer for that particular thing, but they also have to prove that they master the design process. So don't get carried away by a design that you like very much, but then still try to be critical of the process. So I think in general these 2 things we can manage. To look on the one hand at the process, look on the other hand at the end result, and see that they're 2 different things and that we can value them for what they are and kind of see the balance there. maybe the balance is to one side or to the other, or both things are very strong or weaker, we can do that. When it gets a little bit trickier is when we within there have to find the grade, because there's different things within the process and within the end result that we put a value on, and well, we're setting the standards there. And it's not always easy, because we're looking at the research aspects, we're looking at the design aspects, maybe even the entrepreneurial aspects, and maybe there's even things that are not captured by our standards that are in our grading form. So how to balance that? How do we look at that? Well, I'd like to compare it with the mixing of a margarita. Try to make a pleasant comparison. There are many recipes for margaritas, and the basic recipe is kind of the same. 1 part tequila, 1 part triple sec or Cointreau, and 1 part lime juice. And the balance between these parts is different, and that's fine. So if one margarita has a little bit more tequila than the other, that's fine. But we have to judge each margarita for its own merits. If if you only have Cointreau, it's not a margarita, it's a glass of Cointreau. So that's not what you've asked for. But if the balance between the ingredients is slightly different, then that's fine, and you can judge it for its merits. There are no, what we might like to say, well, it should be the authentic margarita recipe, and that's the only one. But that's just not the case. It doesn't exist in the same way that the Open Innovator project, the standard, doesn't exist. So there are many different best margarita recipes that can have a different balance of ingredients, might even have an added ingredient. And we all have to really give a balanced judgment for all of them. So one thing I'd like to emphasize here is that sometimes I hear assessors say something in the line of, well, yeah, but if you don't have skill A, you can never be a good designer. Let's not fall into that trap. That's kind of a dead-end thing. Of course, if you have lime juice from the Aldi, maybe quality, maybe you are not going to get the best end result of a margarita. But if you've done all the other things right, I'm sure it's going to be pretty drinkable. So let's not break off at one single ingredient, but really look at the overall mix and judge it for its balance. It's hard, but I think we'll get there. The other thing to look at is if a student has done something above and beyond. We, not for the love of our students, but for their action, their projects, their results, we can give them high grades. That's fine. And even if we can also take into account if they have done things that are not in our grading form. So maybe a student has brought 2 parties together that before were difficult to get in the same room or on the same page. Then that's a great result that might not fit the grading form, but that we can take into account in our overall grade. So that's fine. If it doesn't fit the form, it doesn't mean that we can't take it into account. So above and beyond should be valued. And then we'll have lots of students graduating, and their grades will be they will set the standard also for the future students. They will look at, oh, what did this person do, what grade did they get, how to look at it, where do we position each other. So actually this first batch of students, of grades, will be about setting the standards, and that's why I want to discuss it now and afterwards with you to see if we're getting there. So in the end, it's really important that the grades we're giving are really about fairness, integrity, and balance. And so in the end, it is about you. It's about us, because we make these grades, and the way we do it, the way we go about it, defines not just the grades, but also who we are as a program. So that's it. Get out there and give him hell. Adios.